Welcome to the Good Ride. Today we're talking about the Burton Counterbalance, a board that's new for 2026 that seems to combine a little bit of the old deep thinker, a little bit of the cartographer, and a little bit of something else to put together a really fun one-board quiver for a wide variety of riders that love good pop, a lighter feel, but not that light, chattery feel either, that can handle a wide variety of conditions. It has a little more grip than your average Burton board that I've truly enjoyed as well. Bass isn't amazing, but it wasn't chalky and weird like some Burton boards have been over the past few years. And I think overall this has a lot wider appeal than the deep thinker and to a lesser extent the cartographer. I rode this primarily with the Union Force and Nitro Team TLS, but I also used this when I rode the Burton Cartel X EST Step-On and the Wave Range X Step-On boot. I rode this in a wide variety of conditions and in two sizes, the 58 and the 62. I didn't get good powder, but I got a few inches of thick wet powder on top of hard snow that got uneven over the course of the day, decent groomers, and then I got it in varied spring conditions that were pretty firm in some places and pretty soft and playful in others. That was the best I could do for the conditions I had in the time that I was given to have this board. And this is an honest, objective review for you, the consumer, not to promote this board, and I can do that thanks to reader support like yours, as well as stores that support us like Blower Board Shop. They've been selling to snowboarders for a long-ass time, longer than many of you have been alive. They're really making a push for a large online presence, and they can compete with the big snowboard stores out there these days. So give them a shot by buying through our links over to Blower Board Shop. We greatly appreciate it. When it comes to sizing, I rode this in a 62, and Thomas, our Pacific Northwest rep, let me borrow his 158. Between the two sizes, for me, the 58 was so much more my board than the 162. I like control. I like an easier turning board. Let's talk shape. This is tapered and directional. There's 8 millimeters of taper, but the width over the inserts is practically the same, and it doesn't have that tapered feel at all. And when you're on reference stance at 22 inches wide, you're sitting 1 inch back on side cut, but on board, that's 2 inches back at a 22-inch stance width. If you want to set it all the way back, you can get 3.5 inches back from center of board at a 23-inch stance width, which is pretty free the taint. So most of us will not be back that far. If you have non-EST bindings that don't mount really wide and you have them mounted in discs like Reflex or through Union discs or basically any other brand, you can slide it further back if you need to on those super deep powder days. But I'd say for most times, stay within these recommended markers. When it comes to the camber profile, you have a decent amount of camber here. I can always get my fingers under Burton boards, even with a directional camber that has a little bit of early rise before the nose and maybe just a touch before the tail, but not much. It makes this a good board for committed intermediates on up to experts. There are definitely easier boards for intermediates, and this is not ideal for beginners, but intermediates that are really pushing themselves can do well with this because it's stable underfoot. It's not too stiff and gnarly to engage on a turn. It also can skid a turn pretty well if you get off your game, so it's not just a full-on technical, directional, mostly camber ride. And I love how this feels the same in all conditions I rode. Now, when it comes to edge hold, there seems to be a little extra disruption happening here in right near the inserts. It's really hard to pick up, but I stared at this and all the other Burton boards and this seemed to have just maybe a touch more extension and a little more length. In the disruption, it reminded me of the same thing I saw on the Burton Good Company. But here's the thing, I didn't notice that till after I tested this one day in hard snow, and I noticed that out of all the Burton boards, even the much stiffer Sketch Artist, the Custom X, the Smooth Operator, and the High Fidelity all didn't grip as well as this in the hard patches I got this in, and that really surprised me. And it just goes to show that sometimes it's not about just having a stiffer flex or more camber. It really does help to have something going on disruption-wise. And while it's still far from being an ice specialist, it did a very good job. So let's talk counterbalance flex. This is the 62. And this is more new. I'm going to compare it to the 58 in a sec, but that's really broken. The tail is pretty stiff between the feet. It's about the same as the tail, maybe a touch softer. And then the nose has a little more give, so you can butter off the nose pretty well. And overall, it's a medium stiff flex for sure, but with a good bit of pop to it. It's really easy to engage this on an ollie, even in the 62. The 58's even easier. It butters okay in the nose, and it's a little bit of work in the tail, but doable. Then here's the 58, which is the size I would want if I bought this. And this is broken in a lot more. It's more on the medium side of medium stiff because of that, but it still held its flex pretty well. And it's closer to the 62 counterbalance than I thought it would be. A little easier to butter, a little easier to ollie, a little easier to play around with. And when they both come to uneven snow performance, this handles soft uneven snow pretty well. It's not like some Burton boards like the High Fidelity, but that's more directional, more tapered, more aggressive. But overall, it's a good all-day ride, and it's a very easy board to get used to in the way it bucks and bounces in uneven snow. It's very manageable, and it's not that hard to deal with. And in terms of hard, uneven snow, I found this did very well. I was pretty impressed with that there too. And Burton always has that flex personality with their standard construction, not their ultralight construction, and doesn't get too cranky in any one of them. I found this pretty easy to ride switch. I wouldn't mind this in the pipe. And this does very well tracking into and landing out of a kicker. And I especially enjoyed how this set up for easy little side hits. It has that quick turn initiation, so you can just come over, find a quick side hit that might have a difficult approach, pop off that, land, and keep going, and it felt great. It's not maybe the best for those that want to lap the kicker park, but launching off some natural features on the mountain and occasionally landing switch, this will do a great job, and it's got lots of landing gear, even set all the way back. Now, when it comes to turning the counterbalance, I felt like it did a very good job going quick edge to edge for my boot size in a 158, a little slower in a 62, but manageable in most conditions. And when I got it on edge, I really enjoyed this turning experience. It feels on the turny side of balanced, but it's not going to fight you if you want to go straight. It doesn't have that deep thinker, powerful, straight line feel, but it does have that quick turn initiation like the Deep Thinker had. And when I got it on edge and really committed to a turn, I felt like I could cross the groomer carve better with this than I could the Deep Thinker. But both are very fun to turn, and the spring out of the turn is exceptional. This is just such a fun board to make medium speed carves with. If you're really into more aggressive downline carves, there are better boards. But this is good for that rider like me who's not looking to make mocking carves. This will do great. And I felt like this could pick up speed and straight line pretty well, but it's not a full-on bomber like some boards in Burton's line. If you want something really fast and stable at speed, you want to look to something like the High Fidelity. The base glide here was good, not amazing, but better than past years. I think they've turned a corner and their bases no longer seem to have that chalky feel. I noticed that last year as well. While this isn't the fastest of fast, when it comes to powder, I don't really know, but I think it'll have more float than the Cartographer, maybe about the same as the Deep Thinker. It's a board I'd like to try to ride in powder. It's not going to be like the high fidelity I tried in the past or other more directional setback tapered Burton boards, but I think it's going to do really well for a more directional one board quiver. So final thoughts here. Well, I hate the EST system. I wish Burton would not do all this proprietary tech. I really enjoyed this board. I loved that it had a little extra edge hold compared to a lot of Burton boards. I love that it was poppy, but yet not hard to manage in most uneven conditions. And it's just a really versatile one-board quiver. I'll be recommending a lot this year.
What is up, everybody? Davey Boy here, giving you a big guy's perspective on the Burton Counterbalance. And I rode this board on a classic spring day up on Mount Bachelor. Started off firm with some clean corduroy, and as it softened up throughout the day, the rest of the mountain opened up, and it just ended in a full-out slush fest. This board was sent to me with the 162 wide sizing. I am 6'3.5", 245 pounds, size 12 boot. I like the 162 size, being a directional camber board with a slightly tapered shape. Having that directional camber profile, this is definitely a board that I want to be a little bit on the bigger size, because if I was going to own this, I'd be looking at this as a potential quiver killer type ride. I liked this board a lot. I thought the camber felt really good between the feet. It's a nice construction. It feels lightweight and poppy, but it's not too chattery. I'm not the biggest fan of the channel system necessarily. It's quick and easy adjustability. I just want 4 screws, but other than that, I really like this board. It's fun to turn. The camber between the feet's not too aggressive. This board's fast. It's poppy. It's not the dampest of damp, but it's definitely not on the chattery side. And overall, I really like this thing. I think this board has the ability to be a quiver killer for a lot of people, especially if you're not a super big time switch rider and you're looking for something that you can ride centered on most days, but when it gets deep, you can set her back and take her out in powder. This is definitely a great option.